Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. Story number 1, A Midwinters Night Report, written by Alt Cypher. Welcome back, Puck, King Oberon said from atop his throne. We did not expect you to return so quickly. Nor did I, Highness, Puck said as he stood up from his overdeep bow. Yet here I am all the same. Pray tell, what news have you of the humans' world? Oberon asked. I was sent by your highness to infiltrate and investigate the mortal world, Puck said. His words were meant more as an assembled court than the king. The queen, as always, stared down her haughty nose at the hobgoblin. The world of man is no longer fit for fay, nor is a mortal war a game we should play. The room erupted into barely concealed whispers and titters. Puck heard gasps of treason and liar before the icy glare of Oberon closed all lips. Puck could still sense the uneasiness in the air. What say you, trickster, Puck? That the assembled might of the Selly court cannot overcome a few weak-minded men? Is this betrayal I hear, or simply one of your jests? Every word a truth, and I remained loyal as ever, my lord, Puck said. He fought the urge to bow again, as obsequiousness was never his most flattering look. How come you to this conclusion, Puck? Queen Titania's lips curled back in disgust as having to address this impish form in front of her. Did you perchance become a seasoned general of my lord the king's army on your walk into the throne room? Titania's ladies-in-waiting giggled at their mistress's insult. Nay, my lady, I went to Florida. The room went silent. You see, my lords and ladies, I let the winds of fate set my course, and I landed in a new world, a particular area known as Florida. Thankfully, we beings of chaos and mystery have been eclipsed by man. Impossible! Oberon shouted from the throne. Your Highness, I was as gobsmacked as you. On my very first night in Florida, I was accosted by a vagabond man who smelt of cat urine. His wild eyes, unkempt hair, and mouth bereft of teeth shook me to my very core. His speech unintelligible, his actions violent. I had no choice but to defend myself from this creature. I cast a trifling spell calling upon the beasts of the land to aid me. A most hideous-looking reptile crawled from underneath the paveway, hissing and scratching, dragging its low-slung armored belly across the macadam. A wild-eyed man knew this wild beast and called it by name. Gator, he said. The assembled host were hanging on Puck's every word. As long as he could keep their interest, he knew no harm would come to him. Surely that terrible monster did away with the pitiful human. Who scared you so? Titania said dismissively. He, assaulted it. Pardon me, Oberon said. The wild-eyed man grabbed the skater and, crawled on top of its back. The man and the gator began, tossing each other about. Soon enough, the man had mostly disrobed and, I'm sure I don't need to explain the mechanics to you. I do not see how a grown man could, Oberon said, then stopped short as Titania caught his eye. No, you don't. The next morning, I was passing through a quiet hamlet when one of the motorized vehicles crashed over an embankment, landing inside the second story of a house near me. The residents of the house fled as quickly as they could. However, the driver of the motorized vehicle was struggling and screaming from their perch in what I can only assume was the little girl's room. I thought to investigate, and so climbed to the side of the house. As I reached the motorized vehicle, I opened the door aside and the driver. When I did, several things happened, seemingly at once. The door whipped open, causing me to lose my balance. That is most likely what saved me from receiving a fierce kick to the temple as the driver ejected herself from the vehicle. Atop her head, screeching and crawling, was some sort of small furry animal I later learned was called a raccoon. The driver stumbled over me and fell to her face, which only further enraged the raccoon. Seeing that it was now free of the vehicle, the raccoon then scrambled off the woman's prodigiously bleeding head and ran away as fast as it could. Unfortunately, the raccoon did not realize that it was on the second floor of a house and so fell, landing badly. I learned later that the woman had captured this animal and thought to make it a pet. However, the animal disagreed with this path and became enraged while the woman was driving it to the medical man for animals. Queen Titania was even fallen silent during Puck's story. When Puck finished, she asked, "So you met two humans who were insufferable. How say you that we cannot conquer them?" One last anecdote, my queen, to clear the issue. I had, later that day, come upon a raging inferno in the middle of the city. A crowd had assembled. Man still gathers around a fire, as they always have. Several large vehicles were gathered around, spraying water at the inferno, with no effect. I asked a man standing next to me what was the purpose of this. He told me that the man had taken a pickup and filled the rear of it with cooking oil. From what I gather, a pickup is another sort of motorized vehicle, with a large cargo area in the rear, much like our wagons. This pickup had dozens upon dozens of gallons of used cooking oil in the rear, as the man thought to somehow recycle it into fuel for his vehicle. He had, apparently, been gathering such oil from various public houses and restaurants in the neighborhood for some time. On this unfortunate day, however, another motorized vehicle had impacted him, setting the cargo of oil ablaze in the middle of the city. The roadway beneath the burning pickup was buckled and melted from the heat. The fire brigade, attempting to quell the blaze, were unable to come close enough as the oil had made the roadway slick for their boots or their vehicles. Forced to stay back, their efforts were most ineffectual. I'm ashamed to say, but the smell was delicious. That is what had caused the crowd to stay. "I do not see how this bears on our military ambitions," Titania said. Throughout these and many other sites, the one thing that never failed to amaze me was the reactions of the people watching. To be more precise, it was their lack of reactions. There was little fear, no terror, just mild amusement. What hope for us, warriors of chaos, if man's life is already so utterly random and bedeviled that events such as these evoke no emotional reaction than a slight pause? With what weapons will our armies fight when the opponent cares so little? Oberon said, "You have given us much to consider, Puck. Is it possible that a wider journey may produce different results? Were you, perhaps, in some manner of reservation for diseased minds?" Puck considered a moment before speaking. "I do not believe that this is any sort of planned area, sire. I have heard of a land called Tix-Ass, not so far from Florida. In Tix-Ass, they venerate half-man creatures known as cowboys." "Cowboys? How would such a monstrosity come to be?" Oberon asked. "I know not, sire. There is also the land called California, where people are stretched and flattened, then forced to live upon the silvered screen for all to jape and jeer at," Puck said. "We cannot trust this imp, as I said since the farce of the investigation began," Titania said. "Nay, my queen. These tales are too outlandish for even Puck to conjure. We will let the world of men pass from our sight. We shall abide until the winds of fate are more favorable." "Sire," Puck said, "may I also offer a suggestion on doubling of the gods? If the world of men were to invade our realm, we may find ourselves destroyed before we were aware of the danger." "So be it," Oberon said. End of story. Story number 2. Postmortem, written by MathWiz617. Oblivion had one job: oversee the transfer of souls from life to afterlife to nothingness. He was good at his job. He enjoyed his job even. He did not, however, enjoy dealing with human souls. Every being that died would be claimed by a god. The soul would then go to the god's domain for its afterlife, and once totally forgotten amongst the living, would fade to nothing. This was the natural order of things. Humans, however, frequently spat in the face of natural order. The soul was no different. A human soldier who had died in a war on another god's planet. Over a dozen gods had shown up to the Soul's Assignment Tribunal, in addition to the god of Andromeda-2. The gods had spent the last 30 seconds living space-time arguing who got to claim it, and there was no sign of argument calming down. As Odin pointed his spear at Hades, shouting obscenities in whatever language, the death of Andromeda-2 shot Oblivion a look that clearly said, "What did I just get myself into?" Oblivion shook his head, clearly frustrated with the situation. However, it was not his job to interfere. Things would work out, one way or another. Another death suddenly appeared, not escorting any soul, but putting the first death aside. After a short conversation, the new death took the soul by the core and disappeared. Oblivion had waved his hand, clearing the plane of arguing deities. The soul had been claimed. "Welcome back to the land of the living, Sergeant. We thought we had lost you." The soldier shakily touched the wound where the plasma bolt had hit him, inches from the center of his chest. "I saw the Reaper," he whispered. "What happened then?" the medic asked. The soldier smiled. "He apologized for the inconvenience." End of story. I just quickly want to thank the Tier 5 patrons and channel members: Alithia Barkey, Cam Maxwell, Caspar Arnholtz, Albarden Guster, Arcadian, Lord Azrakal, and Joachim Backer.